Knowledge is power. That's a nice, snappy title. Knowledge is power. You've heard that expression, probably, somewhere in the course of your education. And we're going to talk about it, though, in a way that's going to be a little different. Because the common understanding of that phrase is that when you get knowledge or information about a subject, the more knowledge you have about the subject, the more power you have. And this is, it's an old idea, it's not a new idea, but this is the general meaning or understanding of what that is. So that the more you study something, the more power you'll have either over it or about it. And that's hogwash. Total, unequivocal hogwash. You can have an awful lot of knowledge in that sense about something and still not have any power whatsoever. Power has to do with action. Power has to do with getting something done. Power is directed energy of some kind. And knowledge, in the sense of information, if it's just sitting there in your head or in a book that nobody reads, it's not doing anything. There's no power in that whatsoever. Power is in action, and that's where power lies. So, but this is true, this statement. Knowledge is power. But how is it true then? Well, because we're talking not about information, which is just that is, a big accumulation of information, that's fine. We're talking about knowing. So to put in terms that might be easy to relate to with what we're talking about, we can say knowing is power. But not knowing something in particular, but that fact of knowing, that some people call it confidence. When you have absolutely no doubt about something. That's power. Why is it power? Because when you know something without a doubt, it manifests in your life. If that, and that without a doubt I'm talking about, includes your conscious and subconscious levels. It also relates to what other people believe too, in a way I'll tell you. But when you know something for sure, for certain, for a fact, and not just with your head, not just with your intellect, but with your feeling in your gut, then it manifests in your life. And the degree to which you know it as a fact is the degree to which it manifests. And we have a very interesting nature. We have the capability of holding paradoxes in our lives so that we can know a couple of things that don't compute, that contradict each other, and we can have both of those in our lives. We can know, for instance, and really know at a feeling level, that life is great and good and wonderful. And whenever we're in touch with that knowing of ourselves that we have, life will be great and good and wonderful. That's what we'll experience. But we can also know, with the head and the gut, that life is rough, life is hard, life is tough, life is a struggle, and maybe even life is bad and terrible. And when we're in touch with that knowing, that's what we'll have in our life. And so because we can have the power of balancing both kinds of knowing, moving from one to the other, oftentimes life is a seesaw like that, or a roller coaster, or any other analogy that you want to use, where it changes back and forth, and we sometimes think it's outside events, either events or people, or something outside of us that's producing all of that, and it isn't at all. It's what we know. That's what's producing it. So we create our reality. And the prime way in which we create it is by how we interpret it. It's the main idea in Huna. We create our reality. But how do we do it? One of the primary ways is by how we interpret it. Looking at reality and then giving it a meaning and accepting that meaning as truth. And this is the way things are. And we also have the capability, when once in a while, whether from our higher self or because there's a smidgen of another kind of knowing in there, we get something in that contradicts the way things are. When we've decided this is the way things are and we get something in that contradicts it, we have the capability of not seeing it, not being aware of it whatsoever, of seeing it, getting shook up, and then forgetting it, or going crazy mad and denying it. And this happens in any field of endeavor with any kind of individuals. This can happen. Happens a lot with scientists. Scientists have this wonderful reputation for being, working with the intellect, deciding things on a rational basis only. And yet, if something happens that they experience or become aware of that undercuts that, that seems to put that rational basis that they've decided the way things are, puts that in jeopardy, scientists can get just as emotional as anybody else. They can be just as scared and just as angry, as anybody else when a whole system of thought is threatened. You get that in politics, you get that in religion, you get that in all kinds of different ways. If people come up against something that threatens their view of the way things are. Now, it doesn't have to be that threatening, but this is what can happen. So they know something, but when that knowing gets shook up, there's a tremendous insecurity begins to take place. When their knowing is based on something, and that something suddenly doesn't seem true anymore, or seems threatened with not being true, there's an incredible feeling of insecurity. And out of that comes, in my opinion, all of the ills of mankind. I think everything that we're subject to in terms of problems, illness, finances, relationships, love, even frustration with growth and discovery, and all the things that people want to do, and health especially, and it's all based on insecurity. And insecurity is what? That uncertainty when you don't know something. When you don't have that state of knowing. When you're in that state of knowing, that's a state of security. You feel secure. And when you feel secure, you feel happy, and you're automatically more loving, and more outgoing and free. And when you're in that state of insecurity, different people manifest it in different ways, but primarily the subconscious, the coup, tries to defend itself from falling apart, from annihilation, from disappearing, from death, as we've been taught it is. Now, even though you know spiritually, and maybe even from personal experience, that death is a transition, that's great knowledge. But in this culture, your coup has also been programmed with the idea that it's finished. That's it. Okay. That's part of the culture. You've got part of that in you. So that's why, the idea of death is a scary thing, at some level. But this knowing, and this insecurity, these are the two issues, these are the two things to work with. We want to find a way to get into a state of knowing and get rid of the insecurity. Because it's the insecurity which is causing the problems. Let's take health, for instance. All health problems are related to the body trying to defend itself. Illness is not bad. Illness is the way the body is trying to cope with something. Now, it may have learned it through cellular knowledge from the parents. It may have learned it from cultural knowledge or social knowledge, including the way the family looked at things and what the culture says is and isn't possible. All kinds of things like this, beliefs and ideas go through. But somehow or other, see, when we talk about heredity, we say you create your own reality. Well, our understanding of heredity is that the cells carry over knowledge. And so the body has built-in ways of coping with stress. And stress in these terms is anything that starts to make you feel insecure. And so it copes in different ways. As an example, one of the great problems that children have is expressing anger. Because anger scares the parents, most of them. And so they try to get the children not to express anger, for the most part, in some fashion or another. They threaten them or beat them or do something. And so somehow or other, and sometimes we just have to look at them wrong, and the kid's real sensitive. But the kid gets an idea that expressing anger is dangerous. Now, some might say they learn, well, expressing anger is bad. Well, what happens when you do something bad? Something dangerous happens. Right? So somehow or other, expressing anger is dangerous. And so what they begin to do is they feel a natural anger, and there is a natural anger. A natural anger is the energy that rises up to defend yourself when you feel threatened. When your body feels threatened, one of the natural reactions, depending on the individual or the situation, one of the natural reactions is a very natural anger. And it's just an energy which rises up to help you defend yourself. And its whole point and purpose is to exist in that moment and work in that moment. But because where our minds are and our beliefs are, often we carry that over and keep getting angry. But there's a kid who is not allowed to get angry, not allowed to express it, or expressing is dangerous in some fashion or another. So they learn how to suppress it or repress it. And what this means is that the body learns how to tighten up its muscles against it. So when angry feelings start to rise up, boom, clamp down those muscles. And what happens? What happens varies widely among individuals. You know, the actual expressions were very creative. The body's very creative. Some people will get cancer. Some people will get, various internal diseases. Some people will get skin, external diseases. Some people will get broken limbs. Some people will get broken relationships. Some people will get, all kinds of things. But let's still keep it with health right now. Will start to happen. I know also epileptics. If they're not allowed to throw a fit this way as a child, they'll throw a fit internally. And the ones I've worked with, anger was always, fear of anger was at the basis or accompanied every one of those. And that was, that was how the body coped. It internalized all the anger. And so it had an internal eruption or fit, whatever you like, an explosion. Because that's actually what happens. Okay. Well, all of these are the body's way of trying to assure its own security. So that here comes the anger and the person is getting all upset and this is dangerous, and the body tries to do something about that danger and it copes in some fashion or another. So it's a sense of insecurity that's behind the illnesses. And relationships where people don't get along well with each other. I've watched some relationships recently that I've been working with, and almost invariably what happens is that each person feels they've got to defend themselves against the other person. One person expresses what they feel, and the other one takes it personally and has to say something back to defend themselves against what was said. And it's a defense that goes back and forth and back and forth. With the result that each one gets more upset and more angry and more fearful, and you get a problem with the relationship. So this idea of defensiveness, this need to defend, it's a natural need to defend. It's built in that we defend ourselves. Our body has this information, this knowledge to defend ourselves built in to protect ourselves so we can survive here. It's just that it's overused and often used inappropriately or unnecessarily. But not from the point of view of the subconscious. The subconscious feels insecure. It reacts with what it knows as the best way to reestablish security. Hold on tight, okay? Push down the emotions, okay? Push people away, run and try and grab people. All kinds of different coping ways that the subconscious has of trying to get secure. Now what? Now that we know all of this, what can we do? Well, one thing is real good. If you realize, first of all, that what is desired by the subconscious is a sense of security. That's an important step right there. That all these lacks in the world are occurring and coming out of security, uncertainty. But what you can help the body do is get into a state of knowing it's secure. Of knowing it's secure. How can you do that? How can you really convince yourself, your subconscious, your body, that it is secure? Well, you can. But you're going to have to start looking at secure things. You're going to have to get a sense of knowing by taking in information, absorbing it, not just information but experience, and paying attention to whatever is secure in your environment. You know, you get what you focus on. Another law, rule, something. But you get what you focus on. Whatever you focus your attention on, and consistently, becomes manifest in your life. Okay. There is a tremendous way to start establishing a sense of security in your subconscious, and that is to do the Huna technique of looking around in your environment and blessing that which is strong and secure. In your immediate environment, you look around, whatever represents security or strength. Now, to a lot of people, these are equivalent. This is why a lot of people do seek strength in various kinds of ways. They seek emotional strength, and so often they think emotional strength is hiding it, or suppressing it or not showing it. They seek physical strength and build up those great big bulging muscles, and those great big guys, some of them are just as insecure inside as others. Some are not. Some have learned on the way to build up their mind and get a kind of a mental inner strength too. But it's the inner strength that's necessary. You want to build up your muscles, that's great. That's the inner strength that you need in order to have the outer manifestation of that. But one of the ways you can get that inner strength is to pay attention to outer manifestations of it. Now this process of blessing what is strong and secure in your environment, it can be human, it doesn't have to be. It can be material, anything. But something like this. First of all, let's look at blessing for a moment in this sense. To bless something, the word is an old word. In Hawaiian it means to make strong. Okay? Ho'omaikai, to make good, but actually within that is the word meaning strong, strength. In English, the word bless comes from Old English, and it really means to give special recognition to something. And it carries the connotation of doing this, in a positive way. But to give special recognition, they used to consecrate things. And they'd consecrate them with blood. This is what blessing originated. That's why you have the same word in French, blessure, which means a wound. Okay? But it has to do with consecrating with blood. Blood was one of the most ancient symbols of power, strength, of life. And blessing, they gave something, made it holy. They called it special, sacred, holy. Give special recognition. Well, how do we bless here? We don't have to do it with blood. There are three ways to bless, to give special recognition to something. Now, when you do that, it increases in your life. There's a power, we can call it mana, the power of God, the spirit of aloha, but there's a power that gets activated when you give special attention to something. So we're calling this blessing. How do you do it? There's three ways. Simple attention, first of all. Just noticing something and kind of affirming its existence as a good thing. All right, that's one way of blessing. Some doing something like this would be walking down the street and looking at concrete and recognizing that concrete is really strong stuff. Looking at some steel girder or some very strong building or maybe a great big thick tree and recognizing and noticing that as strong and secure and just acknowledging it. Okay? But then if you start doing just that, you're going to start feeling different. You're going to start feeling energy changes in your body. You're going to start having, perhaps, depending on where and how insecure any part of you has been, you might even get some muscular releases, deep breathing sighs and things like this. But lots of different things will happen. When you start noticing stuff in your environment that represents strength and security. Second one is admiration. This goes beyond just noticing it. Here's where you take pleasure in its existence. And it also involves, compliments or praise. So if you notice Arnold Schwarzenegger walking down the street, okay, you can say, wow, he really looks good. He's really got good, strong muscles. That guy's a picture of strength. Just doing that strengthens you. Those of you who have experienced some of the muscle testing that we've done when we do something like this, put your attention on, let's say, strength, notice that you do get stronger even that way. But if you do this consistently, it starts to build a sense of strength. So you can admire something, a beautiful building that looks real strong, a tree that's massive and has that strength, and admire it, praise it, compliment it, feel pleasure at its existence. The third level of blessing, we call it a level, but the third one is appreciation. Yes, we've got 3 A's here to make it easy for you to remember. Attention, and admiration, and appreciation. But appreciation is that sense of gratitude. A feeling of gratitude that it's there in your life. And that can be a moderate sense of gratitude, or that can be a real deep, profound sense of gratitude. If you can get it real profound, that's great. The more feeling you can get in any of this, the more effect it'll have on you. And so one of the things that I've done, specifically working with people in health, is to get them to be aware of their environment and to get attuned with their environment. Okay? And get attuned to the strength and security even of things in their environment. Whenever I find myself, getting too much in touch with the world, thinking, and starting to feel a little insecure, I have this rock that I have. And I'll pick it up, and I'll look at it, and I'll admire it, and I'll appreciate it, and I'll hold it, and I'll go a step further that you can do if you want to really, as I'll attempt to become one with it, so that I can feel the rock's strength as my strength, get rid of that sense of separation between us. Try and get a sense of oneness there. With the rock I can hold my hand, but it's really strong and secure. Okay? And when you're doing something like that, your subconscious will relate to that. It will associate with that. And you'll be building strength. And you'll be building a sense of security. You'll be getting more in touch with your world. You're becoming more into the present moment automatically. You don't have to try to become in the present moment. When you're paying attention and admiring and appreciating what's around you, you're in the present moment. And there is where the power is greatest. So you don't have to get in touch with this power, this universal power, by any special technique of trying to grab the power or attract it or do anything like that. Just get it in. A knowing state. And this knowing state is one where there is no confusion, where there's no doubt, where there's no criticism. Those are things that increase insecurity. Actually, you could say those are cursing as opposed to blessing. They don't give strength. They cause something bad. Criticism, and doubt, blame, any of those things produce insecurity. So get them out of your life. When you find yourself in that state either toward others, toward the world, toward yourself, stop it and start blessing something. Now I talked about security. That's great. The wonderful thing about this knowing process is it can be anything you want, any quality you desire. Bless it in your environment. As you begin blessing it, you begin knowing it. You begin being more and more attuned with it. It becomes a more, if you like, secure knowledge, real knowledge in your life. And it increases. And it can be anything. If you want to be more beautiful, if you want to radiate more beauty and have a sense of beauty, then bless beauty in your environment. Bless everything that represents beauty that you can see and be aware of. And you will become more beautiful. If you want, it can be anything at all, well, here, it's easy, If it's riches, wealth, that kind of thing that you want in your environment, more of that in your life, bless it all around you. Hey, pay attention to the banks. Admire them for what they've done. Be aware that every single thing around you in this culture and in this society is involved with money in some way. You wouldn't be here. And that means that the trees that are planted along the sidewalk, the street itself, even the sky, because there is a smart control program going on, and it does cost money too. There's money involved all around you. If you want to pay attention to and bless that in your environment, that will increase in your life. Any kind of quality you can think of. Working on an experiment now, and this experiment is for weight loss. And besides looking at things and getting a sense of strength and security, and then we're blessing all the slim things in your environment. I'm serious. The subconscious has to have something to relate to. It will associate with whatever you keep putting in your mind. And so if you want to get yourself more slim, bless whatever's slim. Telephone posts, fence posts, that's right. Telephone lines, the wires, Whatever is slim in your environment, pay attention to it, notice it, bless it. Now, we don't have any proof on this one yet, but I strongly suspect that the subconscious will begin relating to that. And you'll find getting into the slim state that you want easier and easier. Because the other advantages when it's happening, since most overweight in this society is also related to insecurity, then the more you are grounding yourself in the present moment, the more secure you're automatically going to feel, even if security isn't specifically what you're looking for. Know your world. Feel comfortable with it. Feel secure with it. Feel confident about it. And you do that by paying attention, by admiring, by appreciation. Bless what's around you. Bless whatever it is that you want in your life. The power will increase it. No limits. But you got to do it a lot. You got to do it a lot. You do it consistently. Keep yourself from cursing anything. And transform your life if that's what you want.